Welcome to Real Talk with Sarah. I'm your host, Sarah Roberts, and for this show, we're going to ask parents to kindly remove the little ones from the room. I'll let you do that now, because we're going to spend the entire hour talking about an area of our health that's incredibly important and often overlooked. I've got sex educator, dating, and couples coach Marie-Claire Thauvette with me to talk about sex. That's right. We're going to spend the entire hour walking through the various stages and phases of our lives and how each stage presents unique challenges and opportunities for us to improve our sexual health. We'll start with the messages we received as children, our first experiences with dating, how things change in the first years of marriage, what happens in midlife, and what we can expect in our golden years. If you struggle with knowing what it means to have a healthy sex life at any stage, if you experience pain during sex that leaves you resisting or resenting it, or if you have children who are beginning to uncover their own sexuality and you want to learn how to talk to them about sex, then this show is a must-watch. MC is going to lead us along this exciting journey of sex through the years. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Episode 23 of Real Talk with Sarah starts right now. Well, if sex has always been a taboo subject for you, or if it makes you uncomfortable in any way, then get ready to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because we aren't holding back for this one. The topic of sex is too important to shy away from, and I've got just the expert to help us navigate the various stages of our lives as they relate to our sexual health. Welcome, MC Thauvette.
Thank you so much. It's so much fun to be here.
I am so excited to have you here to dig into this topic that too many of us are shying away from. We're scared to talk about it, and we're going to walk through the years, which I think is a really fun way to tackle this topic. So let's start with the messaging we receive as children.
Okay, that's a really important thing. And as a matter of fact, I would ask parents to become sex-positive parents. Sex-positive parenting is really important. I just listened to a TED Talk this morning about a couple. They were a professional couple, and they went through all of these years where the husband was always asking, can we have more sex? Can we have more sex? And, you know, they tried the date nights and they tried all these things, and they didn't work. And what she learned was that she didn't get positive messages as a child. And as soon as she reworked that, everything was great. So it's really important to really make sure that you're feeling good about yourself, even at the beginning of your relationship, at every stage of your relationship. And we need to talk about this early with children, and it starts from the time that they're very little, from the time that you teach them, what's this? This is a chin. What are these? These are breasts. What's this? Your vulva. What's this? Your testicles. Teach the proper anatomy language. That way they're going to feel so comfortable about talking, because this is normal talk. It's really key to make the language really easy, really normal, and really label the parts of the body, the sexual parts, the way they're supposed to be named. And I have a story for you, Sarah.
I'm glad you're going to tell the story, and I want to hear the story, but I think that's a really important point. Too many parents, I think, call it the hoo-hoo or the cookie or the whatever, and we need to so the naming of the parts, the proper names, is really key here.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you a cookie story.
Great.
So you just mentioned cookies, so that's a good segue. One of my clients told me this story, and I was so surprised to hear it, and it's a really good lesson for parents. So there was a teacher that wrote her story, and in her story, a little girl in her class came and told her that my uncle ate my cookie. And yes, and the teacher didn't know what that meant, and she actually, a couple days later, the little girl said the same thing, my uncle ate my cookie again. And you know, the teacher didn't know what to make of it, so at parent-teacher interviews, she asked the parents, what does cookie mean in your family? Because your daughter said a couple times that her uncle ate her cookie, and the mother's jaw dropped. And that's how she found out that her daughter was being sexually abused by a brother. Wow. So this is showing like an extreme example, but why it's so important to name the parts properly.
Totally.
That little girl would have gone to her teacher and said, my uncle is eating my vulva, or my, you know, whatever
where he put his
they
mouth
taught,
near
where he put his mouth on my clitoris, if the parents have taught that part of the body, if that ever came up. The teacher would have known right away, they have to report sexual abuse. It's their job.
Right.
So that would have been just fine if that would have happened, and we would have been able to get to this a lot faster.
Yeah, well, the fact that she had to come back and say that it happened again,
yes.
The behavior could have been arrested after the first time.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I want to teach, at the same time as I'm teaching this, I like to teach parents about consent. So the first lesson in consent is how we meet people. So our children are watching us meet people and we hug, right? It's a really good habit for parents to ask their friends, their family, can I give you a hug? So they can see that we're asking for consent from the very beginning.
Oh, so you're saying adults at dinner parties, welcoming friends, should be saying, can I give you a hug to their adult friends?
Correct. It's modeling consent for the future.
Okay.
And kids can say no.
Yeah.
They can say no. When somebody asks them, they could say no, thank you. Teach them how to be polite, and they can say no, thank you. It's important to start then.
Is it important to ask for consent every single time? Or is it like if it's family members that come over and always give the, and every time the child wants the hug because they're a close family member, but should they still ask every single time of the child and of the parents? Like, should
it depends on a relationship that they have with the person, and it's important for parents to have that conversation.
Understood.
Right? Do you feel comfortable with that? Have that open conversation every step of the way with your kids. Why not?
So tell us, how do parents start the conversation with their children? And you were saying to start off early with naming the body parts. So I imagine that's when language just starts, at any...
Learning to talk.
Learning to talk,
right?
We start to use the names.
Exactly.
But when we start to, how do we approach it? I know a lot of parents are super embarrassed. They don't know what to do or what to say. I know there are some books out there that can be helpful, but what are your suggestions there?
So a lot of parents really have a really difficult time with this. And I had a client who had twin boys, and she came to me, I want to have the sex talk with my twin boys. And I said, well, did you talk to them already? She says, no way, I'm embarrassed to talk about this. So, and I was trying to tell her it's time to talk to kids is when they're young. So it's important not to skirt around. If the kids ask you a question, answer it precisely, correctly, and make the answer super short, and make sure that you're totally honest with your answer, because when you're honest with the answer, Sarah, you're going to be able to build trust. And the kids are going to come to you, because where do kids go to learn about sex if parents don't teach them? They go to the internet, they learn from porn, they learn from their peers, and you cannot trust that. That is not good information. They don't always give good information. So it's important for you to be the source, for sure. It's super important. I want to help parents with how they're feeling while they're giving this information, because if they have really negative body language, what happens then? The kids are going to say, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? There's something wrong here. My mom's nervous. My dad's stuttering. So I would ask them to take a deep breath.
Yeah. Breathe.
Breathe, right? It's so important to breathe. And relax every muscle in your body. And think about making the conversation an everyday normal conversation, right? Everyday normal. And if you have a hard time with that, think of it as being a mundane, boring conversation.
Can you give us an example of how that sounds? Because I think that a lot of parents watching might be thinking, okay, MC, sounds great, but I never had the talk from my parents. I never had that sex-positive type of environment growing up.
Right.
I don't know what to say or how to say it or how to make it a natural, normal conversation. So having breakfast in the morning?
Yep.
Or is it directed by when the child is asking, or should parents initiate?
At the beginning, it should be answering every single question that your child has.
So what is this? What
is this?
How are babies made?
How were we born? How was I born? It's really important to tell your child's story. How was I born? Well, you grew in my belly. You came out of my vulva or my belly, so that you can talk really truthfully about what happened. You were in my belly for almost 10 months, 9.5 months, and just talk naturally and normal, like it's a pleasurable experience, because that person that we talked about earlier had a lot of negative experience her whole life, and she had a very negative experience with sex and continued that. Right? And it's really important that it's natural and it's an enjoyable and fine conversation to have with them.
All right, let's move forward. We've only got about 3 minutes left of this stage, so I want to talk about masturbation.
Right.
Parents know their kids are doing it.
Right.
Do they talk about it? How does that come up? How does it not be awkward for both parties? I think of American Pie when Jean Leslie was like super just way too involved. And so how can we do it respectfully?
So I think the important thing is we got to get the message that it's done privately. So especially when you catch your children in the act, this is where a lot of baggage comes from, when the parents say, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that." And that causes trauma. It causes, "What did I do wrong? I'm not supposed to touch myself. It was feeling good. Why is this wrong?" So the message that we give to children is this: oh, everybody does that. The important thing is for you to do it in your bedroom or in the bathtub. When you talk about bathtub, it's like what we do every day. We go to the bathroom, we go to the bathtub, and it's a relaxing place where you can do it. It's fine. And I heard a story, Sarah, the other day where a parent always knew that her daughter was doing that every night to put herself to sleep, and I thought that was really cute. There's a lot of functions to this. It's helping this little girl to fall asleep. So she walked in once and she was masturbating, and her mother says, "Oh, that's okay, sweetheart, but just remember not to do that when you have sleepovers."
Okay.
So that's an important tip to give also.
The idea that it's done in private.
Right.
And that it's totally normal. And are parents supposed to be encouraging their children to masturbate? Is this something that all children do? I know a lot of adults that don't, and I wonder if that came from the messaging from childhood, but I'm wondering, are parents to teach their children how to masturbate? I don't imagine so, but I'd like your feedback
No,
here.
I don't think it's something that they'll naturally do, but you can talk about it how it's a pleasurable thing to do when they're a little bit older. You can say, this is a pleasurable thing to do. And when they're even older, like teens, upper teens, when they start dating, you can say, this is what you do so that you can learn how to teach your partner.
Yeah.
Well, you've already had the sex talk, they're having sex with their partner, have that talk with your older teens so that you can ensure that they're showing their partner what they enjoy, because there's too much of that not enjoying in certain people because they have a bad relationship with sex. So you want it to be a good relationship with sex.
And they've had this long history of shame in a lot of cases, or in feeling that it's bad or that it's wrong, or this feeling of pleasure, but yet it's not good. It's really confusing, I think, for a lot of young people.
Yes, I think it's also important for parents to teach what their values are, because we're not all the same. Some families are very religious, but I just want to warn those people that your children might not exactly follow your values, so it's up to you to really teach your child and to protect them for the future.
Well done.
Yeah.
All right. More Sex Through the Years with MC after the break. Back in a moment. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking sex through the years, and I've got MC Thauvette with me to navigate the next stage, our dating years. All right, so we've come through adolescence, we're now adults, and we're now dating. What do we need to know about dating in a healthy way?
Wow, it's really, it's first of all really hard to go through dating, especially in today's age of online dating and etc. It's really important to be safe. So most people know this, but I just have to say it, Sarah, that when you choose a place, make sure it's like a coffee shop where you can have an easy exit.
Yeah, like a meeting place. Yeah.
A meeting place that's easy, and make sure you have a buddy that you can call, because if you're going to go to the next spot, call that person so they know what that next place is going to be, and let them know that you've arrived home safely.
Like if things are going well and you say, okay, I do want to keep going, let the friend know.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Okay.
And the next tip I would be is what happens when you're on a date, because that's the part that people really have a hard time with. And my thing is to tell my daters to just relax. Have a good time. Dating is an enjoyable experience, and just be yourself. Often it's like an interview. You're getting tested, they're checking you out. Just relax and be yourself. If you've got a good sense of humor, make sure you bring that out. Just bring out the real you. And also, your body language is very important. So when you're sitting there, check and see what you're doing. Check and see what the other person is doing. If they're leaning into your conversation, that's a very good sign. Do they have eye contact with you? Are they interested in you? Are they asking you follow-up questions? Are they looking around the room instead of really being focused on you? This is really important body language that you should be checking out.
And this is important because this is about choosing a partner who is truly going to be invested in you, right? Like this is why you're sharing this. That it's about those initial moments together where you're saying, where you're noticing the being paid attention and that the person is listening. And this, of course, will then transfer into other areas of the relationship if it continues to grow.
Exactly, exactly. And, you know, it's really important to remember that you're not desperate, right? You're special, you're important, you've got great qualities, believe in yourself, and you know, often we're lonely when we're dating, right? It's this whole lonely feeling, and you really want company, and you want it so badly that you'll do things that are probably not natural. So just be authentic, be yourself, and be natural.
And one of those things might be having sex too early because of an expectation.
Exactly.
Is that part of it?
Yeah, that's a part of it. And I often tell my daters, wait and slow down and enjoy the whole sexual process, because, you know, sexual energy, that sexual energy that you have, if this is the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, you're never going to get that back.
Yeah.
So really enjoy the
you're never going to get that time back in the beginning where you had the tension before you actually start having sex.
Have fun with sexual tension.
Amazing.
Yeah, let that last a little bit. Yeah. And it's especially important not to have sex until you're able to ask for what you want. You know, too often, this brings in the whole question about the pleasure gap, right, Sarah?
Okay.
So too often we have sex because we've been conditioned to give, right? Especially women, we're conditioned to give.
People pleasers, a lot of us.
People pleasers, and we'll just give because it's the thing to do. He's going to like me more if I have sex with him quickly. But really, how do you want to receive sex? What's that going to look like for you? Are you invested in your pleasure? You need to be. It's important for you to have the conversation how you need to make love, how you need to be pleasured. And a lot of men don't know about the clitoris, right? They don't know about that because they've learned from porn that you just go on top, you oral pleasure for her, oral pleasure for him, go on top. It's the routine all the time. Yeah. That's not how you pleasure women.
First of all, even the pronunciation of clitoris.
Yes.
I think Jerry Seinfeld really messed a lot of people up when he did an episode rhyming it with Dolores. It's like, no, it does not rhyme with Dolores.
Yes, and the clitoris is a really important. You can show us the book, Becoming Cliterate, Sarah.
Okay.
It's an awesome book. Dr. Lori Mintz wrote this book, and it's really all things clitoris. It tells you from A to Z everything that you need to know about the clitoris, how important it is, and what is the clitoris all about. She talks about the clitoris being, she has 8,000 nerve endings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, even more than a penis.
Wow.
And she's actually a mini penis. The clitoris is actually like a mini penis.
Yeah.
I can show you this, actually.
Here, I'll show on the camera.
Perfect.
Amazing. So, this is what a clitoris looks like.
Yes. So it's not just the little thing that sticks out of the top. It goes all the way down. The legs that you see that Sarah's holding onto, those are clitoral legs, and inside are clitoral bulbs, and they reach all the way down to your urethra. And that's why the clitoris is important, because it actually also gives you G-spot orgasms. That's new in our sex talk world.
Yeah, that's new in our sex talk world.
Yes.
So tell us more about the clitoris. So 9,000 nerve endings.
Yes.
So obviously no one knows enough about it.
Yes.
What else do we need to know?
What happens when people are dating, there's actually Dr. Laura Mintz did a study at University of Florida, and she checked out to see how many people are having orgasm for first-time hookup sex, and only 4% of women are having orgasms.
4%?
Yes.
Wow.
And 55% of men. So I'd like us to focus on this orgasm gap.
I'm even actually surprised that only 55% of men. I think
I hear that a lot, but I want us to focus on the separation.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah. And even men, like, why is it only 55%? Yeah. It's because you need to keep conversation going. You need to talk first. Make it meaningful so that just if you just want to have sex for one night, make it good.
Yeah.
Have a conversation about it. And if you can't talk about it, don't do it, because pleasure is important.
I think it's interesting to even throw it back to self-pleasure, so masturbation from a young age, so that then we know what we like when we're with someone else.
Yes.
So it really does, laying that foundation early is so key.
Exactly.
So then we get into a dating situation and we can be more assertive. We know what we like. And then, like you say, maybe taking a little bit more time to have that sexual tension between people can really play out really nicely in the relationship.
Exactly. And I want to say to our viewers out there that when you have an orgasm, 99% of the time when you're masturbating, it's from the clitoris orgasm. You're stimulating your clitoris. That's how women have orgasms, 99% of the time, according to studies. So,
totally.
Wow, we need to figure out exactly what we want pleasured on our clitoris, play with it, and try to notice, oh, I like it on the bottom left quadrant. Make that message clear to your partner. I like that on my left bottom quadrant. Let's have a playtime tonight, a clitoral playtime. Don't worry, we're going to tickle your pickle tomorrow night. We'll have some fun with you tomorrow night. But let's explore tonight. That's actually in my book, Honeymoon Playbook, where you explore each other. It's the body blueprint, where you play with each other's body. You make your own legend. Do I like to be tickled, licked, sucked there? And you just write the notes on how you like that. You score how you enjoyed your erogenous zones being touched, tickled, or whatever you have going on.
So you've got a page in the book where we would actually take notes on that?
Yeah, you take notes. You can show my book. It's Honeymoon Playbook, and it's not just for honeymooners.
No.
It's for anybody. So people that are dating can actually go to even the pleasure anatomy section for men and for women, and you could learn exactly how to pleasure, and you could write down notes. You could take notes after you've done it to see, oh, she liked that, oh, he liked that. So that's a pretty fun thing to do, to keep a record of what our partners liked.
I think what a lot of people will be hearing with the way you even deliver your message is that sex should be fun. Yes. And if sex isn't fun, and if you're not enjoying it, again, on your own, and then when you try to get into a relationship, I think a lot of women are often waiting for the man to deliver the orgasm.
Yes.
And what do you want to say about that?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked me that question. So take charge, ask what you want, and have the conversation, and just go ahead. And the way you pleasure yourself, either ask him to stroke your clitoris the way you like it to be stroked, or you do it yourself. Take charge, right? And if he doesn't understand that, have that conversation later, and say, and when he's in a good mood, not hungry, not tired. Set it up actually she calls it kitchen talk. Dr. Laurie Mintz, she calls it kitchen talk. So set it up so that you can talk about this, and then you can discuss what your pleasure is like. To tell you the truth, every workshop that I've given, men, what they love the most is to give women pleasure. So I think most men want this.
So most men don't feel that feeling of inadequacy when we say to them, we like it like this, we would like this, please do more of that.
Right.
They actually like that.
They love it.
I think women, a lot of times, we feel like it would be putting them out, or it's asking too much.
Exactly.
This is that whole concept of the pleasure gap that you were talking about.
Yes, exactly.
4% of women, 55% of men, there's a huge gap.
There's a huge gap, but there's a huge gap altogether, and we need to converse more and have more conversations. Yeah. Just the movies that we've watched. Do you ever watch a movie, he's on top, she's on the bottom, they're doing this, and all of a sudden, that's so fake.
It's so fake.
And that's what we do. Yeah. Women fake orgasm. Yeah. Because where is the clitoris getting stimulated? He's not even in a position to be able to touch the G-spot. And yeah, some women have cervix orgasms, but it's very rare. And it's really, really, really key to make sure her clitoris is stimulated, get into a position where she can have her G-spot stimulated, and why not have a blended orgasm and make sure her clitoris, the top of her clitoris, this top here, is also stimulated.
Okay, so let me show that on camera. So you're saying, so this is the part that we all see.
Yes.
The rest is all hidden.
Yes, but
and
it's
you're
there.
saying to stimulate all around.
Whatever you can.
Whatever you can.
Whatever. Experiment.
Yes.
See what you enjoy.
Yes. Have fun.
And while you're actually in penetration, you can get your clitoris going at the same time.
Amazing.
Blended orgasm. Why not?
Why not? We have to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about maintaining a healthy sex life after we get married and the honeymoon stage ends. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Real Talk with Sarah. If you're just joining us, we're talking sex with MC Thauvette, and we're continuing on our journey of sex through the years. All right, so we've made it through to our marriage years, and you've shared with me that most divorces occur within the first 5 years of marriage. Is there a link between sex or not having sex and the divorce rate?
There is a link for sure, but the most important link is that couples aren't paying attention to each other. 86% of couples actually divorce because they're not focusing on each other, and that also includes sexuality.
Okay.
So it's really key for couples to not live like roommates.
Yeah.
Like, let's live more connected lives. And don't let things go by you. It's important to talk.
Yeah.
And there's a really great tool online called the 5 Love Languages. Have you heard of that, Sarah?
Absolutely amazing.
Okay.
I recommend it to everybody.
Yay,
Gary
I'm so
Chapman.
glad.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Chapman, exactly. So that's a really good tool. And I do workshops, retreats actually, and workshops, but I do retreats every season. So, and I also recommend that every couple takes a weekend away every season. So during one of these weekends away, you can come and do a retreat with me. It's easy. It's not hard. That couples say, I was so nervous to do this retreat, but it's easy. It's fun. So what I do is I have them do their love languages before they come in. And when they come in, we discuss it, and we ask couples, how can you pleasure each other? How can you love each other more by using love languages?
Interesting, because the love languages is essentially, there are 5 love languages,
Yes.
and you can buy the book and find out your results by reading through the book, or you can do the online quiz.
Exactly.
And it's really, love languages are nothing to do with sex. It's acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, those kinds of things
Gifts.
as our love languages, or physical gifts.
Yes.
So how does that play into our sex lives?
All of those can be transferred to sex.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you're a physical touch, the greatest gift is a massage. Right? Even if you don't have that love language, sometimes you need to relax, and you just need a massage, and that's really important for us to get into that. Learn what our partner loves, and we can turn that massage into something sexy, right? And it's important for us to distinguish in the couple. Tonight, I just want a massage, because often when guys give a woman a massage, it's because they want sex after.
Right.
Have that conversation. Talk about it. Say, I just like a massage tonight. That's all I'd like. And if she changes her mind, she will.
That's right.
He changes his mind, because one of my clients, he works in construction. All day long, he comes home tired, and he doesn't feel like having sex. But my client gives them a massage, and then they're good to go.
How amazing.
Yeah.
How neat to see that, I think oftentimes it's the woman saying she's got the headache, she's tired, she has a million things on her plate, especially for women who have become parents. So now the mother has, children that are vying for her attention, and sometimes sex can feel like just one more thing on my plate to do.
Yes.
And so I know that happens with a lot of parents.
Yes.
How do you help them to come through that? Of course, doing the love languages is one great way.
Yeah, so I've got lots of tools.
Yeah.
This is what I do. So it's really important for you to make space in your couple. So as I said already, make sure every season you get away for a weekend, and make sure that you have your date night, and get creative about that, because I hear so many people saying, I have nobody that can babysit. My wife doesn't trust people to babysit. So how about finding another couple maybe that your kids get along well with, and you can exchange babysitting. The kids are having fun, you're having fun, it's win-win.
Yeah.
So this is a really great thing to do. And it's often, I find that couples really need to get to know each other. So I do something called the Gottman checkup. So doing this Gottman checkup, and now it allows you to see exactly where you are in your couple.
And this is based on John Gottman's work.
Yes, exactly.
He's the author of the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. This is my first rodeo.
Oh, I see that. Yes.
Yes.
And he also wrote the book 8 Dates.
Okay.
Which
and you brought that in. This is the perfect time to show this.
Yes, it is a good time.
This is great for people who are married, but maybe aren't making time for one another.
Yes. So these are 8 dates that you can take with your spouse or your partner.
Right.
And you go out and you do these 8 dates, and there's sex in one of those chapters. And yes, I talk about it on my podcast, the Passion Perspective podcast. We've done one just on this book because I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
And Gottmans actually have studied this for 40 years. 40 years ago, they had a love lab in Seattle, and they used all of that information and they put together a 480 questions for me to use so I can help couples. It's amazing. It's an online questionnaire, and it sounds long, but it's super fast. It gives me a really good picture where the couple's at, and we can focus on the topics that we need to talk about as a couple.
Okay,
it's
questions
really great.
like what?
Like, for instance, when you're talking to your partner and they're busy, that's called bids for affection or bids for attention. And turning away is what the person does if they're not giving you the bid. So asking the questions, can I have more attention when I ask you these questions? Can you answer my question? Or can you say, can we talk about this later, sweetheart? These bids for attention really help to decide whether your couple is going to be successful or not.
Wow.
That's a small part of it, but it's one part of this comprehensive test that the Gottmans have put together. It's phenomenal. I just love it as a tool.
I think so many couples, there can become a time where if they have become roommates in a lot of ways, where it's just that sex is the last thing that they're thinking of. I work with many different people who have said, we haven't had sex in weeks, months, some it's close to a year, some it's more than a year. What do you suggest? How do they break the ice? I think sometimes we're waiting for that other person to initiate, and we're both just waiting forever.
Yes.
What do we do?
We simmer. It's important to simmer your partner.
What does simmer mean? I like the sounds of that, though.
So simmering is exactly what it sounds. You keep things going in between. So from the last time that you made love to the next time that you make love, you're going to be simmering your partner. So it could be as a sexy text. I've slipped a little note in my husband's computer, so it opens it up, and I say, I have a sexy plan for you tonight, and well, all afternoon he's going to be thinking what that sexy plan is. And I've even gone to a lingerie shop, taken a picture of myself in a sexy outfit that I'm going to wear, and I says, look what you get to play with tonight.
Oh my gosh.
How does that make him feel? It makes him feel simmered, right? And he's going to think about you. Simmering is about making sure that your partner's thinking about you in between the times. It could be a pinch, it could be slow dancing in the kitchen. And what do you think kids will think about that if they see a couple slow dancing in the kitchen?
They will love it.
Yes. My parents love each other.
Sometimes parents are worried that kids shouldn't see daddy smack mama, pat her on the bum or something cute, or give her a kiss or something. We need our kids to see it because we're modeling the behavior.
Exactly.
We want our kids to have a healthy sex life. So why is it that we're so, no problem for kids to watch shoot 'em up movies, but God forbid they see a couple lovemaking?
Exactly. That's so true, Sarah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know when we chatted before the show, you said, and couples need to bring back the kiss.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
So bring back the kiss, because it's the first thing that gets dropped off, right? Before, when sex drops off, intimacy drops off, the kiss gets dropped off first. So if your couple has stopped kissing, make sure that you start kissing again. In my book, Honeymoon Playbook, I have 7 different kissing styles that you can experiment with tonight. So one of them is the take me kiss, for example. Women love this. A lot of women read a lot of books, a lot of sexy books out there, where they want to be taken. They see the hero in the book. They take their women. A lot of women are missing this. So when your wife comes home tonight, let's just see if she'll like to be slammed up against the wall and devour her neck and kiss her lips. And maybe you want to give her a little bit of simmering before that, but that's an interesting thing to check out to see if they like that. And there's 6 other different kissing styles that you can explore with in Honeymoon Playbook, and it's really a fun thing to do. I actually used to give kissing workshops.
Amazing. Give us another example of another kind of kiss.
Oh, so you can do like the stop and go. So you go close and you stop. So that's a very teasing kiss. So there's all kinds that are there. And I was actually giving this workshop, as I was just about to say, and I was giving a kissing workshop, and I was teaching how to kiss, how to get deep in your kiss. And my husband was filming me. He was videotaping me so I could bring it to the ASEC, to my supervisor. And later on that night, he said in the hot tub, come on over here. And he gave me this amazing, beautiful, deep kiss that made my legs just melt. And I just felt, oh my God, he loves me. That's what I want. I want women and men to feel loved, and kissing does that for sure.
Kissing definitely does that. Any of this kind of attention. I think that, again, when we're seeing so many families that, parents, they're getting so tired, they're completely overwhelmed, they're overrun,
Yes.
but they're letting sex be at the bottom of the barrel, completely forgetting that isn't it the most fun part of life, the physical part where we're just loving on our partners and having a great time. And I know it's not easy for everybody, but it's something that I think can be learned.
Yes.
And it's a skill that we can keep cultivating. And instead of just letting it go by the wayside, keep it going. So I love these tips and ideas.
That's right. That's what us sex coaches do. And some sex therapists actually do coaching also. So we can help you along the way. If you have any issues along the way, we can help you with that.
Well, and it makes it so much more comfortable when you've got somebody who understands, who isn't going to make it awkward. Like you make sex so easy so that even me, I love talking about sex, but it's just fun to be able to have a conversation that's real and that's not, that you've got that third party to be able to bring it back together. I think sometimes when it's kind of gone so far off the rails, you might need that third party to be there to let each party be able to share what's going on inside and then be able to go home and do their homework.
Exactly.
It's awesome. All right, well, after the break, MC is going to help us enjoy a healthy sex life well into our golden years. Back in a moment. If you're just joining us, I have sex expert and couples coach MC Thauvette with me to walk us through our golden years and how we can continue to have a healthy sex life well into old age. So the kids are grown, we're retired, we've got more leisure time. Seems like the perfect time to have more sex in our lives. Is that what's happening in older age, or what's happening in the golden years?
It is actually the perfect time to add more sex to your life. And I've got good news for you, Sarah. Couples are actually having more sex in their older years.
Yay!
So this is really good news, at least compared to before. But there's still lots of progress that needs for the future. So there was a 3,000 people study in the States, and 1/5 of people in the study had increased their sex, once a week. And then 1/5 was 3 to 5 times a week. So
like they increased it to?
No, they have sex 3 to 5.
That's their usual.
Three times a week. That's their usual. So that's more than before. So we're really happy about that. Yes, it's a really good time to play and have fun. I want to encourage couples to do that. They're not encouraged, I hate to say it, by their doctors, because most people stop having sex because they have medical issues, they have physical issues. So half of them stop having sex because of that.
Okay.
So the sad thing is that when you go for your physical, for example, to your doctors, the doctor will often not ask you anything about sex. They keep those questions for the reproduction years. But I want to make it my mission as a sexual educator to get out there and meet doctors. If there's any doctors out there that have conferences, I'd love to talk about this, because we need to ask couples, how is your sex life in the golden years? How is that going?
I mean, when we think about how sex plays into our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, why are we not talking about this more?
Exactly, and it really can be when you're in pain. Guess what can help pain? Help with pain. Sex.
Totally. Orgasm, for sure.
It stops pain. I actually had proof of that. I was listening to a show, like a podcast, and she was talking about how how sex can reduce pain. And while I'm a multitasker, so while I was doing that, I was doing Kegels. Yeah. And when you do Kegels, you actually can get excited, actually.
Okay.
And I had shingles at the same time. And I noticed when I was doing Kegels that the pain went away.
Wow.
So this is really important to lower pain, have sex and have fun. And these are your last years How about having fun in those last years? But I have really good news. Peggy Kleinplatz did a study here in Ottawa. She's the university professor from Ottawa U, and her colleagues did a study, and she found it was on sexual pleasure, and she found that couples are having fun. Older couples, the ones that are having sex, are having fun. Just a few things that happened out of the study. They're connecting more, they're having fun, they're exploring more, they're having more conversations, so they're communicating more, they're being vulnerable, and it's okay. That's what happens when you get older. So get into that. You know, take some risks and have some fun. And I have a really good example of this for you. One of my girlfriends, she was 72 years old when she met her boyfriend. And she had a conversation with him, and he said, I can't have sex anymore. And she said, why not? He said, because I can't get it up. And she says, oh, don't worry about that. We're just going to play. So playing is really important. So she started playing with him, and she says, I'll just put it in my mouth and see what happens. And next thing you know, he has an orgasm.
Wow.
So what happened to this guy? He was on fire. He became 10 years younger because he could have sex again.
Yeah.
And they connected so much as a couple. And I checked in with her about 3 years later. So are you guys still doing that thing? You know, oral pleasure? And she says, oh yeah, we do it twice a day.
Oh. I love it.
And, you know, she's even later in her 70s at this point. And she said, oh yeah, and you know what we do? I play with my vibrator, and he sucks my nipples.
Oh, my
so,
gosh.
you know, he's staying connected to her. She's having fun.
Yeah.
They're really good examples on what to do. And she was a real great model for me because she actually gives her friends, when they become widows or when it's their birthday, when they're older, she gives them all sex toys as presents.
I love it.
So that's a super fun story. She's a super great model for me.
So to keep playing.
Yes.
I think there's too much pressure on performance at
Yes.
all the stages, and certainly
Exactly.
into our golden years. And so the idea here is just to keep playing and having fun with it.
Yes.
It's a fun part of life. Keep it going.
Yeah, so often we can't perform, so we stop having sex. So,
Right.
you know, sexual performance is something that can really make things heavy in your couple in later years, and actually at any age.
Understood. So one thing, though, I know that for a lot of women, sex can be painful. So let's talk about ways that it's painful and ways that we can mitigate that.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring out my pleasure puppet.
Sure.
Her name is Belle.
Let me hold. Oh, yeah.
Actually, I'll have to hold her.
Go for it. Go for it.
Unless you want to play. So this is Belle. So I go to this camera, right?
Just you can just show it exactly where you are.
Exactly
Yeah.
where I am. So this is Belle, and she's actually a really good. You know, assistant teacher for me, because she is really, I can teach people and they can see it's big visual. So I tell people right underneath these beautiful lips are where the legs go, right underneath here. So I love teaching this. So for women that have painful sex, I want to teach people of all ages that you need to warm up before. You need to really warm up a woman, because as Belle will teach you, this is what happens. Hello everybody, I am Belle, the sex teacher, and I am going to tell you what happens when men enter me too early. So when they do this, Sarah, they enter me early and I'm like this. So the vagina is actually like this, right? That's right, MC, it's like that. So when you go and warm me up, I open up in the back. You see, this is actually the vagina, and it totally opens up. It elongates, so when the penis pushes on the cervix, it doesn't hurt. So this is a really important part, to make sure that you warm her up. So this happens, but most importantly, make sure that you introduce lube.
Yes.
Doctors go to doctors' offices and they say, I have painful sex. Well, are you using lubrication? Because when estrogen drops, you also have, you know, less lubrication. So what do I recommend to couples? What kind of lubrication? My #1 favorite is good for everything around the house, and that's coconut oil. Did you guess it?
Fabulous.
Did you guess coconut oil?
I wouldn't have guessed that.
You
no.
wouldn't have guessed that? I love it because you can have oral sex. It's awesome. Another problem that women have is that they have thinner. They have. The skin is a little bit thinner.
Okay.
So what happens, or the tissue is a little bit thinner, I should say. So that happens also because of estrogen, drop of estrogen. But it also happens that when you start painful sex, sex is painful is because they haven't had sex in a while. So go ahead and use a dildo to make sure that you always have penetration, because it can hurt when you start having sex again.
So if we're a woman who's become widowed and we don't have a partner, or we've been single for a while, you're suggesting to keep using a vibrator or a dildo.
Yes.
Using it with lube, with lubrication, and inserting it into the vagina.
Yes, and I want you to be careful what kind of sex toys you put inside of you, because if you use a sex toy that has phthalates, that can cause cancer. So it's really important that you check in with a sex store or online to make sure that it doesn't have phthalates.
Okay.
And another thing I want to mention is that in homes, they're having sex a lot more. In seniors' homes.
Yes.
So make sure we have condoms, right? And you cannot use oil with condoms.
I was going to say, so with coconut oil, you can't use condoms with that.
No, you have to use a water-based lube.
So let's just really make sure that that people at home are getting that message, because if we're back in the dating years, we do not want to be lubricating with coconut oil.
Correct.
We want to be using a proper lubricant that's not going to degrade the condom.
Exactly.
But later in life, if we're with a partner that we've been with our whole lives, and we are feeling that painful sex, we can use coconut oil.
Exactly, or any kind of oil. You can use water-based lube also, but coconut oil is fun.
Well, it's cheap and cheerful. We have it in the kitchen already.
Costco, buy bulk.
Totally. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Tell us more about what's happening when seniors are feeling like they're getting into maybe new relationships. What happens if they're dating, and how do they begin the whole conversation about sex?
Yeah, it's important to flirt. Right? It's important for them to start flirting, and you're going to feel the sexual energy start to build. So you can just start by touching. Here, I'll put her aside. Sure. You can start by just touching her hand and just massaging the hand and feel the sexual energy start. And this is very safe. You know, it's safe to just start with the hand, and then just, maybe the next date you can, work your way up and just touch the face. Like just be with the person at first, and then have the sexual conversations. I really believe if you don't have the conversation, you're not ready for sex. If you can't talk, then you shouldn't probably have sex, because it's important to be able to be comfortable about it. And for a lot of people, that's hard. So take your time with it.
I think that's such a good point for any stage in the game.
Yes.
If we can't talk about it as children, as teenagers, as adults getting into relationships and dating, if we can't have a real honest-to-goodness conversation with somebody who we're considering taking our clothing off for and being in bed with and intimate in that way, I just don't think we're ready for it.
Exactly. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to some seniors. My mom used to be in a home in Quebec, and I was talking. My mom had a coffee club, and they knew I was writing my book, Honeymoon Playbook, and it was so much fun because they said, "How's your book coming along? How is it progressing?" And I tell them it's really great. It's so much fun, and tell us what parts are in the book. And they said, "That is so much fun for young people." I said to them, "No, you guys can have fun too at your age." "Oh, we don't have anybody to have fun with." So I said, "Yeah, you can have fun." So I brought them sex toys.
Amazing.
So, and they were like little girls in the schoolyard talking about their sex toys. They gave them names.
Oh, I love it.
They named them, and they're exchanging stories, how much they have a new lease on life.
Amazing.
We've got to have open conversations.
I totally agree. Thank you so much for being here, MC. I know that we've all learned a ton. When we come back, I'll share my final thoughts. Back in a moment. Along with politics and religion, sex is one of those taboo topics we're encouraged to keep quiet about. But how's that been working for us? Not talking about sex doesn't make our children any less curious about it. In fact, it often has the exact opposite effect, and we see kids getting their information from sources that are not always accurate. If you're a parent, I hope this show has given you the boost of confidence you might have needed to begin this important conversation with your child. Starting the conversation early means that at each stage of their development, you can continue to be a trusted resource, which will help them to grow up with more confidence around their changing bodies and help them navigate the world of dating and sex with more awareness. If you're in midlife and struggling to prioritize sex because your schedule has become too full, or you're too stressed out or tired to enjoy it in the first place, then we hope you've learned some strategies tonight that will help you bring sex and intimacy back into your relationship. It's too important to ignore, and we hope that this show may have sparked something inside of you that might give you the confidence to open a dialogue with your partner. And if you're in or approaching your golden years and wondering what to expect or what's normal for this stage of life, I hope MC gave you the permission you may have been looking for to continue to explore your sexual self and enjoy this stage of life to the fullest. Thank you to my guest, MC Thauvette, for helping us to navigate this sensitive topic with grace, compassion, and levity, while providing us with important strategies and resources to support us through each of life's stages. Until next time, I want you to remember one thing, that no matter where you are, and no matter how it feels, you are never, ever alone. See you next time.